Hello and welcome to ADHD Awareness Month, and we are in week 4. And today I'm with Rachel, who is our Head of Engagements and Partnerships at Empower ADHD, and we are going to be speaking about a very, very interesting topic because this week it's all about family and friends, and today we're going to talk about ADHD in partnerships, in intimate relationships, from the partner's kind of point of view, because that's really important. So it'll be a very, very interesting, insightful talk, we hope. So over to Rachel to talk about some housekeeping matters here.
Absolutely, I'm like strict to it. So obviously next week we have our coaching summit coming up at the end of the week. On the website, you can register to attend. That's going to be very, very exciting. There's some incredible speakers.
We've got David Gawork opening day 1, who's founder of ADCA, and Candy Richards will be opening day 2. From the Federation of Small Businesses. So it's going to be really good.
Absolutely. So on the website, there's a link to register on there. We also have next week coming up our Ask a Coach live sessions. There is a form that we've got where you can submit any questions in advance, or feel free to kind of DM, send any questions over. I'll be attaching the link at some time. Yeah. To the bottom of these.
We were a little bit late. Rachel is actually quite technically impressive.
Sometimes.
No, you are. And she had a QR code that was so you'd be able to scan that, and so you could ask, do the questions, submit your questions. Yeah. But yes, it wasn't. It was glitching.
It seemed to crash my entire stream, which is why we are not
a little bit late.
On Empower and a little bit late.
But it wouldn't be ADHD Awareness Month without modeling some ADHD traits, obviously. So that's the reason. And also, before we start, I firstly must publicly thank Rachel, who is one of the most beautiful people ever, and obviously one of the most talented. She made this jacket for me. She's never made, you've never made any clothing before.
No.
Did not take my measurements, and literally it fits like a glove. Look at this. It's really warm. And look, guys, there's a beautiful lining as well. And look at the, guys, look at this gorgeous collar. So again, I know we're not doing ADHD strengths, but man, this woman has so many of them. It's unbelievable. And she's obviously massively creative and talented. And gratitude, just so grateful. So I just want to shout out to Rachel.
Aww.
It's just one of the many things that this woman can do. She never ceases to amaze me, honestly, guys. So yes. Very proud to be wearing the jacket today. You probably see me a lot in this, actually.
I hope so.
Yeah. So anyway.
That and crashing streams. So it's a hush on my ballpark. So obviously today we are talking about ADHD in relationships, living with an ADHDer, the partner's point of view. One thing that we kind of talked about that was a really kind of a good image to describe a lot of relationships, especially with ADHD. It's obviously a used metaphor, but it applies a lot here, would be like the black cat and the golden retriever, which we kind of did a lot of looking into. So where you're kind of talking about the black cat, you're talking about someone who's maybe more cautious, more planned, more protective, kind of has to see the vibe first before giving you affection straight away, suss you out. Also someone who might be a little bit more reserved. And often these people need their alone time as well, which is really important, especially looking at relationships. And then the golden retriever, being that kind of all love straight away. Everyone's a friend. Everyone's a friend.
Trusting everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And kind of in terms of relationships, the more kind of trusting, the more needing someone around, likes to go and do activities together rather than kind of doing something more chilled. So you can kind of see where these two are, in a way, opposites, but also align a lot of the time as well. And we can compare that a little bit, not obviously point blank, but some of the traits are quite reminiscent of ADHD traits, of autism traits. So where you're looking, golden retriever could tend to be more of the ADHDer. The more, kind of
impulsive, needing that stimulation, sensory seeking. Yeah,
absolutely. And then the black cat, the more planned, the more kind of relevant to
the canary in the mine, that's they called it.
Yeah.
The one that can look around the corners, that road maps, that kind of can see all the different outcomes of everything, you know. And so, you know, there's a reason that they catastrophize, because they see so many things that can go wrong. And that seems to be more of the black cat, or the what I used to call the worrying warrior. So the worrying warrior type of ADHD is the black cat, and the forgetful fairy type is the golden retriever. That's because you quite often, what I was seeing in coaching in relationships, because I coach couples as well, and quite often you will have those two different types of ADHDers together, because ADHDers attract each other, you know, for so many reasons. You know, we just gravitate towards each other, don't we? Because we're non-linear thinkers. You know, we get bored easily. We like a challenge. You know, and this is where it can get a little bit sticky. And something I really want to point out is that some ADHDers do find themselves in toxic relationships. Those that like a challenge in terms of, I'm going to fix him or
I can fix him.
Like, I'll fix him, you know. Okay, go on, Rachel. No. Now's your partner's POV. Do you want to talk about this at all?
So a little bit. It's the kind of, you, obviously in terms of being, it's a common ADHD thing. We like to help other people. And so you're kind of, in friendships, you're the one that helps. And so when you look at that in relationships, it's I can fix them, you know, I can do all of this to help, because we love to help. And so you kind of end up looking at someone more as a project. I can help you, you know, I can do this. I'm going to do all of this for you. The people pleasing comes into that. And that's when, you know, if it's the wrong person, we compared it. Well, I thought it was quite funny. Almost, if you're looking at like the animals, I think the animals is such a good way to be able to help yourself more, to be able to help others more, because as a society,
we're kind of basically to animals.
We love animals. We're like,
a lot of people, right? They prefer, a lot of ADHDers will say, and people with autism, I prefer animals to humans, which I'm sure they don't really mean. Sometimes, maybe.
Sometimes.
Depends on the human. Right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
But if you're thinking of animals, you know, you wouldn't want to see a dog or a cat being mistreated. So why are you doing that to your personality almost? I kind of described it as, you know, if you're the golden retriever, you wouldn't want to lock your dog in a cage. We would find that really cruel. So why are you kind of
allowing yourself to be
like that? Or the cat, you wouldn't want to kind of just push aside or kick a cat away. You'd want to love the cat, and we're more kind of emotional to that sometimes. Obviously, it's hard to put yourself first. So if we can look at it like animals, it becomes a little bit easier in terms of partnerships. Rather than shouting at someone, you know, trying to understand if you're shouting at someone because maybe you're more of a black cat and they're more of a golden retriever, and they're running around and kind of, you know, making more of a mess.
Black cat just like,
rather than shouting at them and going, you know, if you're thinking that's an animal and essentially you're caging up the dog, you wouldn't want to do that. So you'd be more open to understanding and learning. And so when it comes to those energy vampires, pretty much, I describe them as like being Cruella de Vil. You know, you wouldn't give your dog to Cruella de Vil. So don't give your time to these people. If you can see that someone is kind of a little bit more not good intentions, they're not someone to fix, they're a Cruella de Vil. And so you wouldn't give your dog to Cruella de Vil. So it helps us kind of look at,
be a bit more compassionate.
Absolutely.
It's that compassion towards ourselves that we lack as ADHDers. And it does help if you're a golden retriever type. I'm more of the golden retriever type, definitely. And by being able to, you know, that detached observer, and then, you know, if something, say, there's an interaction or a treatment, the way you're treated, and being able to see that in the context of, you know, the golden retriever being, you know, like you said, locked up in a cage or not fed or completely ignored, or, you know, when they're trying to get affection, things like that, then, you know, it's easier to relate to. It's like, oh, yeah, no, that would be me. Right? It's crazy, isn't it? It's like, whereas we're so used to, because of our lower self-worth, right, all the negative messaging over the years, we just put up with so much. We just, we put up with so much, way more than what we should. We learn to, reduce our expectations, sometimes have no wants. Sometimes we can be in situations, abusive relationships, where you can't have any needs because they're never going to be met. So you just don't have needs. And so the problem is, if you are like that, and that's the kind of standard you're setting, then you walk straight into a relationship, right? Where, okay, is that the standard you want to set? Okay, well, let's continue that. And there we've got a Cruella de Vil situation.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting as well, because it's obviously not just in relationships, but especially someone, some people can be a mix of the both of them.
Or different situations make you more of a cat.
And I think in that kind of respect, equally as in a relationship, you wouldn't, again, want your dog side to kind of bombard the cat out the way, or the cat to lock up the dog. It's about kind of having them circle each other almost, or know when to kind of take a step back and observe, or know when to come in front and protect. I see the cat as more kind of coming in to suss you out first and see what's going on, whilst the dog holds back, and then the cat can go, okay.
Like, is it safe? And like we talked about, it's more, because the golden retriever type, the forgetful fairy, a lot more kind of trusting and using the heart more, rather than the head. And the black cat, worrying warrior, is more leads with the head. So it's like what you're saying. You don't want to, ditch either of them, and not having it's about, working them together and learning how to work with those together. And yes, it makes sense to use the cat in terms of new people, new situations. To be cautious, like not everyone deserves, your attention, and it's got to be reciprocated. And we do a lot of that in coaching, because a lot of ADHDers with the golden retrievers give. And if they're doing that all the time, right, they're not setting boundaries, the energy is going to be drained. And like we also talked about, there's very much risk of being abused.
Exactly. It's when you're kind of looking at that, it's the same thing with relationships. So if you're looking in relationships in terms of kind of how each of the individuals might appear. So what kind of things would we be looking at with the black cat?
Because you see this a lot in coaching when we're coaching some of the couples. So you might have, the golden retriever, again, a bit impulsive, very optimistic. And so quite often they're the ones that don't really manage their energy very well either. And they keep committing the black cat and the golden retriever to like this thing, that thing, or they're overcommitted themselves. So then therefore they're tired and have no energy. And then obviously the black cat then gets it at home, or, has to clean up because the golden retriever is exhausted or complaining. So, and the black cat always can see this coming, right? And the black cat tries to tell the golden retriever won't listen. Won't have any, and I've got boundless energy. No, you're just being a cat. You're just doing that cat pessimistic thing.
It's fine. Obviously, I kind of had that. Obviously, the previous relationship where I could see everything. I was like, I know if you go and do this, all of this is going to happen. And so you're going to go to the pub and you're going to have one drink. You won't have one drink. You'll have more, and then you'll get home late, and then you'll be tired, and then all of this. And the other person just couldn't see it. And so it was it's where a lot of them, they work very well together. The black cat can help the golden retriever with planning. The black cat's more cautious and protective of the golden retriever. The golden retriever kind of encourages the cat to
take a bit more risk, or
enjoy the social, all of that. The loyalty, obviously golden retriever quite very loyal, which can, calm down a lot of the black cat's worry about that. Knowing when to let each other shine, because otherwise, kind of coming back to that example, it can sometimes come across as controlling.
Yes, this is the issue. And again, it could be that the person, for sure, as I said before, a lot of ADHD is vulnerable to abuse, and there can be, unfortunately, some of the neurodiverse traits abusers can also have the neurodiverse traits and narcissism, things like that.
Yeah.
However, like someone, for instance, you're more of a cat in terms of your ability to roadmap from what we just heard in relationship in particular. But Rachel's intentions are good. Like her intentions are good and she can't unsee what she sees.
Yeah.
And then for her not to actually tell the partner what she does see, like that would her being a bad girlfriend to not warn him. It wouldn't it? Because then you know what's going to happen and it goes wrong. Then you see him suffer. He's in pain. You can't help him. You could have helped him if you had have said and he listened to you, but he didn't. And this is, I bet, it's a cycle you guys got in.
It is. It was because it was, I could see it.
Yeah.
And then he would be like, no, it's fine. And then I'm like, no, I can see it. You know, you're going to be, it's not just kind of the effect on me. It's, I know that you are going to be feeling so exhausted and then you're not going to be able to do this. And then it's going to lead to more arguments. It's going to lead to X, Y, Z. It's for the benefit of both of us and us as a unit. And so it can sometimes come across
as control. Yeah, I know.
That,
and
which is why, you know, the conversation.
It's important to be able to, it's really important for each partner to know where the other one's coming from, to be able to look through each other's lens, because obviously if that golden retriever generally will look through its own lens and then see how they're being treated, and through their own lens, it's like, whoa, you know, that's really controlling, you know, because they wouldn't do that. Yeah. But they wouldn't do that because their brain's not wired to do that. This is the thing. It's just a matter of, you know, a brain wiring. Like I said, with Rachel and other black cats or wiring warriors, you know, they can't unsee what they've seen. And they tell you because they care. Yeah. Obviously, proviso, they're not all.
Yes.
Okay, there are some abusive people, obviously. Definitely Rachel is not one. Look at my jacket. No, she like, on all levels, honestly. But yeah, these things do provide, you've got to be careful of that parent-child dynamic in that instance, you know, and Melissa Orlov. So Melissa Orlov is like the couples ADHD expert in the world, in America. And yeah, she makes the point, that kind of parent-child relationship that can develop when you've got those two different ADHDers. And obviously if that happens, what happens to intimacy? Like it's...
Yeah, exactly. It can come across like that. And for me, it did. It starts to be kind of like, darling, you know, and it takes that tone. And so it's why having that communication, I think, when we're looking at how, because when they work well, like when they work so well, you know, it brings, it balances out a lot. But it's taking the time to have that conversation is so key. And, you know, finding, why do you feel like this? Why are you saying all of this to me? Why are you explaining all of that? And then taking the time to hear each other out, understand that, and then find kind of the middle ground. You know, it's compromising without putting up. It's accepting that some things are non-negotiable for you.
Yeah, boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's about, and what we're talking about earlier. Yeah, just while you were talking, I was just thinking, obviously through that ADHD lens, this is not easy. Like, you know, with our difficulties regulating ourselves, our difficulties, you know, our blind spots, the impulsivity, you know, when the RSD in particular, and this is the problem, you know, relationships are, you know, minefield of RSD triggers like everywhere, right? You know, massive RSD everywhere. And, you know, in coaching, we keep talking about naming entertainment, right? You got to, and I've definitely seen when we're coaching couples and they learn about RSD, when the individual learns that it's their RSD that's triggering and that perhaps they've assumed, completed a picture that actually isn't their picture to complete, you know, they've put in the pieces that aren't theirs because they need to see the picture, but it's not actually the picture. They're not on the, you know, both partners aren't on the same page, and that's where you've got the problems. So it's really important to create space to, and the coaching really helps you get to know yourself, your needs. Like the sensory stuff was another one we were going to talk about, the sensory needs, sensory triggers, right?
Exactly.
So that you can set yourself up to succeed.
Exactly. And it was so big for me because kind of after my last relationship, I didn't know where everything went wrong. I was like, 1 minute, everything was perfect. And then the next minute, it was just gone. And I was like, what? You know, I didn't understand what happened. You know, I thought that I was doing everything, but I needed Stephanie to basically help me understand that. And it set me up so much better for future. You know, I know kind of when I'm giving too much, when I'm going full golden retriever at someone and I'm, you know, doing all of this, and then the black cat's going, oh, and if you do this and all of you do it. And so unpacking that for me brought a lot of closure to that, but also for future relationships, setting things up, you know, if I'd have kind of had that understanding, you know, talking things out would have been so much easier. And so if it is something that, you know, kind of going, well, I don't know what I am, not like in one box necessarily, but I don't know if I recognize any of those. I would say, you know, coaching has been literally life-changing for me. And if anyone kind of in relationships in terms of yourself, I genuinely say it changed my life, which is obviously people use it flippantly, but I genuinely do mean it in terms of relationships, in terms of understanding myself. I can look at these things and I can literally break it down and know what's happening and know now where, obviously quite a road mapper, but I'm like, I know now the map's forming a lot more than it did, than the complete panic of I've given everything to this person and I've done everything. What did I do wrong? You know, even breaking up, I was like, I'll help you through everything. You know, I'll do all of this, I'll do all of that. It's like, no. And so I think obviously there's a lot of things as well that come into it, you know, in terms of managing that relationship. It starts with the understanding of yourself, of which coaching has helped me massively with that. But then once you understand that, learning to, in the relationship, play to each other's strengths.
Yes.
And so maybe kind of splitting up tasks. I use, for example, like the school run. If the black cat's more organized, the black cat organizes everyone at home. And if the golden retriever is more social, the golden retriever actually does the taking. So they get the socialization, and then the black cat gets the alone time that they need, rather than just going, this is more of an organizational task. So the black cat does everything with it. The black cat becomes overstimulated by that, you know, does the organizing, which is their strength, but then gets overstimulated and then needs extra alone time when the golden retriever's back and wants to spend time. So it's looking at breaking down a task and going, what actually are the elements and what are your strengths? And if, you know, kind of, and finding those qualities in other people, because obviously you can have two of the same.
Yes.
And so if you've got two of the same,
you can imagine two golden retrievers. They have a lot of fun. That's probably mostly what they do. In terms of getting stuff done by themselves. And this is the point we're talking about. You know, if there are the two types, then you need that external. We're not talking about anything kinky here. We are talking.
That was quite the sidetrack.
There's not.
I didn't know where you're going with that one. I was like, I love it.
Sorry.
The power of life.
This is what I'll let you explain what we were. I just thought I should make that clear. If you want, of course, you can if you want as well. That's not.
We don't judge. You do whatever.
You know. Well, that's a whole other topic, neurodiversity and sexual preferences. But that's not what we're talking about today.
Not today.
No. However, what were we saying?
No, by that kind of like looking at external systems, essentially, in terms of, you know, if you're both golden retrievers and so neither of you is very tidy, then bringing someone in like a cleaner. Yeah. It's not, you know, giving up. I had to do it because I was so burnt out all the time, but I was like, it's the only way I can keep on top of this because I want to do it. It just doesn't work. And so kind of if you're both the opposites, play to each other's strengths, but if you're both the same, equally look for those external helps.
Definitely.
Like we talked about last week with delegation, a PA. For example.
Exactly.
Yeah. Things like that.
Hold you accountable and all. Yeah. And actually it's really important because definitely, sorry, I can't.
We lost you now.
If there is that black cat and golden retriever, you know, I found that as well, the black cat, you know, again, talking things out, right? The roadmap and being able to see it, a lot of black cats need to talk it out. And sometimes that can be overwhelming for a golden retriever. For instance, if a golden retriever is already kind of people pleased all day, and now is dying and just absolutely exhausted. But then, the black cat partner needs to talk it through, things through with the roadmap, and this is where it gets difficult because there's no capacity, and that can sometimes be construed as not caring. There's so many misunderstandings when you can't look through the lens. You're gonna get misunderstandings.
Exactly. And so if someone needs that, it's true that I'm very something happens, we talk about it here and now. I can't leave it. I can't leave it.
It's like that.
I need it sorted. You're angry, right? We're talking.
Whereas
about
I'll be like, like the dog when someone like when you go, hey, and like run away.
It's the videos of the dog stealing something and like, what did you eat?
Run away. Yeah.
And so
we tend to just want to no, not dealing with that, because we very much the whole forgetful fairy, golden retriever, out of sight, out of mind. It's not the same for the black cats. Out of sight with these things, from what I've heard, it just will play and play and play and play and until you guys can kind of talk it out and sort it. Whereas for us, we're like, while we're in the conversation, it's playing. But then when I go out the conversation, it doesn't play anymore. It's gone.
It's gone.
I'm going now. And so you can see how that's
exactly.
But
it's kind of when approaching those conversations, to make it a little bit easier, it's kind of changing those kind of what's wrong with you, why are you like this, changing that to, I used an example for a mess, for example. There's a lot of stuff, the golden retriever's done something and left everything out, and the black cat's like, don't like that. Instead of going, why are you like this? Well, you always leave a mess, you always do this.
RSD.
RSD goes, golden retriever's gonna be like, oh, no. And it's either going to be breakdown or it's going to be
attack,
fight back. And so instead of approaching it like that, asking more kind of how, obviously, kind of the stuff's over there. How do you feel about that? And you might find, because it was the same for me, rather than someone attacking me going, why have you left a mess? Going, how does that mess make you feel? I'd be like, oh, I hate it. Like, I don't want to live like that. Like, I don't like leaving a mess. And then you understand a bit more. And so instead of it being this person just doesn't care, it's actually this person does care. And so asking someone how you feel about it, rather than you've done something wrong, opens the conversation up for more of a, okay, how can we work together to do it? And it's less RSD, so it's less guarded or immediate breakdown or firing back.
Avoidance.
Exactly. It's more conversation, and it's kind of the main point is of kind of what we've been talking about, is having those conversations, understanding yourself, and having those conversations to understand your partner. Knowing the animals are quite comparable because there are some distinct traits. Obviously, someone's not going to be exactly one thing or exactly the other. Or I'm not saying, if you are ADHD, you are a golden retriever. If you are, you are this. There are things that are comparable. So when understanding it like that and being kinder to the person that you're speaking to yourself, you wouldn't want to kick a cat or lock a dog in a cage. So approach it with that understanding, approach it with that conversation. And if you don't know how to get that understanding of yourself, coaching is an incredible way to do that. There are so many things that I didn't even think were kind of a trait of myself. And I was like, oh, actually, that makes a lot of sense. And having that understanding helps the conversation, helps understand the other person. And then those conversations and that communication can ultimately be better, and you can find ways to play to each other's strengths, to delegate things, to understand as well, that some days are going to be high energy, some days are going to be low energy. And so understanding and building the routines for that and the plans for those days, or how we kind of talk to each other, how we go about things on those days, and not just looking at a task as a whole, splitting it up, having that conversation from a place of understanding, not you suck.
Never. Exactly. It's so coming from that place of compassion and curiosity, taking a coaching approach, really, isn't it? And the more you can name it to tame it, understand what your needs are, because you can't communicate to get them met if you don't know what they are. And you don't know how to meet them either. So, and that's where coaching comes to the fore. So it's fantastic, for that personal development, but definitely interpersonal. It's it's a game changer, honestly. Not saying that it's easy, even when you do know, right? Not easy, but it's a damn lot easier than not knowing and, upsetting each other and causing pretty irreparable harm. The divorce rates like double, I think, or something like that with neurodiversity. So be kind to yourself. Get the help that you need. You deserve the best support possible. Get in touch, and be kind to each other. Okay.
Don't kick your cat or lock your dog in a cage.
Exactly. Yes. And we'll see you tomorrow where we talk about ADHD and families.
Amazing. And if you have any other questions for our Ask a Coach Live, as I said at the start, we'll put a link for a little form that you can submit any questions.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, everyone.